It says Samson loved a woman by the name of Delilah. Doesn't say anything about marriage. You know, you remember when Samson was younger, he was going to get married, he was going to do it right, but it didn't turn out well at all. And so he probably had the attitude, now I'm not worried about that. I'm just going to shack up with anybody that I can, and I'll stay with this woman for a while and that woman for a while, and I'll go up to a prostitute when I need to. And so he just went from woman to woman to woman. Just like a lot of people in our culture do. I'm not worried about marriage. I'm not worried about doing it right. I'll have a relationship with her for a while, and when I get tired of that, I'll try somebody new. And so he was not worried about that, but it said he loved a woman by the name of Delilah. But here's what Samson did not know. Delilah had made a deal with the lords of the Philistines, and they told her that if you will find the secret of his strength, we will make you the richest woman in this country. You do not know how long they were together. Probably several months, maybe longer than a year. But she was plotting and planning all the time to bring him down. And then one day, as they were just having pillow talk, she said, Sammy, you love me, don't you? And he says, Dee, you know I love you, baby. And she said, well, I just want to feel closer. Would you just tell me, how are you so strong? And so he makes up this story. He says, if you tie me up with a certain type of rope, we like to know Samson liked to play games. I don't want to get too deep in this, but he liked to play games. And he said, if you'll tie me up, baby, I'll be just as weak as anybody else. And so she ties him up with a certain types of rope. And she has some Philistines right outside. And she says, Samson, the Philistines are here. I didn't know they were here. And so he breaks the ropes, and he tosses the Philistines out and runs them off. And he said, that was kind of fun, baby. And she says, oh, Sammy, you don't love me. You don't really love me. You didn't really tell me the truth. And he said, well, I tell you what, I told you the wrong type of ropes. It's not that type of rope. It's new rope. You got to have new rope. Let's play that game again. I really liked it. And so after a little while, they play the game again. And she ties Samson up again. And lo and behold, she said, you know she's persuasive because she got the Philistines to come back. I mean, Samson had already run them off, but you know this woman was persuasive. So she gets the Philistines to come back, and she ties him up again, and she says, here they came back. I didn't know anything about it. And he tears the ropes up and tosses them out again. And he said, that's invigorating. Wow, man, you got any more games we can play? And so they're talking. And she starts this, oh, Sammy, you just don't love me. You say you do. You say you do, but you don't really love me, because if you really love me, we would be close. If you told me that secret, we would be so close there would be nothing between us. And you want to pause right here and you want to say, Samson, you remember when the other lady that you were going to marry, you remember when she started nagging you, you remember when she started whining, you remember how that turned out, you better not tell her your secret. But old Samson was so arrogant by now, he would probably say, it doesn't matter. You see how that turned out. I whooped them all then. And if something happens now, I'll whoop them all. I'm Samson. I can do anything I want to. I can get away with it. And so the third time, he tells her something about his hair. He doesn't tell her the truth, but he's getting closer to the truth. And the same thing happens. The Philistines come, and he basically tears them apart, and she starts to whine and gripe and gossip, or not gossip, but just whining and complaining. Young ladies, don't be that kind of a woman. Because you can probably get your way most of the time. Because we'll see that she just harped on Samson so much that he finally said, okay. And he told her the truth. And she sends word to the Philistines. And she says, I know he's told me the truth this time. He told her, my hair has never been cut. That is the only vow he had ever made that he had not broken. The only one. You remember the Nazirite vows that we talked about. He had broken every one of them except this one. And he was always stronger. Even though he broke the other vows, he was always stronger. So he thought, this one really doesn't matter either. And he told her the truth. And one of the saddest pictures in Scripture is God's Superman, the strongest man the world had ever seen. Nobody could defeat him. He was either drunk or drugged, both of which broke his vows, asleep, with his head in the lap of a woman about to betray him. Man, you just want to grab Samson. You want to grab him and say, Samson, we told you not to tell. And he would have said, don't worry about it, I can get out of it. And out come the scissors. Snip, snip, snip. 7 times it says. And the only vow he had never broken has now been compromised. And she says, Samson, the Philistines are upon you. And he basically stands up and it says he shook himself. That basically means he bowed up. He basically said, I'll take care of these dudes like I always take care of them. But it says this, 16:20, one of the saddest verses in the Bible, it says the Spirit of God had left him and he didn't even know it. How do you go from being God's Superman? How do you go from being the strongest man in the world to God not even being a reality in your life and you don't even know it? I'll tell you how you do it. You do it one broken vow at a time, one broken promise at a time, one thought at a time, one choice at a time, one habit at a time, until you can get so far away from God that He's not even a reality in your life and you don't even know it. They took him and they bound him up and they put out his eyes, which was basically a metaphor because you see Samson had been blind for years. He had been blind spiritually to what had gone on in his life. And I hope you do not become blind to what goes on in your life. I hope you do not become blind to how you can move further and further away from God until He's not even a reality in your life anymore. And they blinded him. And they put him in a prison and they made him do the work of a pack animal. Grind the corn. And you think, wow, what a sad ending to a sad story. But it doesn't end there. It has this one little phrase that catches your eye. Because Delilah either did not tell them what his strength was, or either they forgot about it. Because it said his hair started to grow.